Welcome to the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast with Vicki Nedling. You are about to discover impactful lessons that help you grow as an individual, grow your confidence, and find the positive and good within you, so you powerfully and authentically become the best version of yourself. Be sure you visit our website at www.findyourleadershipconfidence.com. While you're there, subscribe to us via your favorite network. Now tune in, get ready, and enjoy the journey of emerging as a leader of exception in the 21st century.
Welcome, everyone, to the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast. I'm your host, Vicki Nedling, coming to you from Roswell, Georgia. The goal of this podcast is to bring topics and guests that will empower you to become that confident leader and take your business and your life to the next level. Today, I am excited to introduce to you Amy Lacey, and let me tell you a little bit about Amy. She grew up in Northern California and developed a passion for business at an early age. And she says, truth be told, she has always been an entrepreneur. In 2012, she was diagnosed with lupus and was really sick. And Amy was pre-diabetic and had gestational diabetes. I had that too, and inflammation, and it was attacking her body for the longest time. She had to drastically change her lifestyle. She wanted to find a way to still eat fun foods with her kids, like pizza and having all those fun times that we do whenever we're together at a restaurant or whatnot. So she invented cauliflower pizza crust. This was sparked by her revolutionary health journey. Amy got off steroids and Plaquenil, I'm probably saying that wrong.
No, it's called Plaquenil. You got it.
And she lost 48 pounds and wanted to pay that health forward. So she became certified as a life coach and a health coach with Martha Beck. In 2015, she decided to take her cauliflower pizza crust to the farmer's market with her kids. And one minute they were selling at stalls. The next, in January 27th, they went viral, and cauliflower, spelled C-A-L-I,
Cauliflower. Yep.
F-L-O-U-R, very good play on words there, Foods was born.
Yeah.
She did not stop there. She wrote a national best-selling book called Cauliflower Kitchen, published in 2019. This woman does not stop. Then in late 2019, she sold the majority of cauliflower and became one of the top 1% of women business owners to exit a company with 8-figure deal. Not stopping there, in 2023, she founded Beyond Medicine, BeMe, and Soursop Nutrition, bringing back the award-winning team from cauliflower and raising capital from 10 powerhouse women investors. Yeah. And now it's highlighting one of the world's superfoods. Yeah. Today, we're going to talk about brick and mortar to click and order, and that journey that's taken Amy from those early days of not feeling great to being this powerful woman she is today. So please join me in welcoming Amy Lacey. Amy.
Thank you so much, Vicki, for having me. And wow, I don't know who wrote that intro, to be honest with you, but that's quite an intro. Thank you for reading that and sharing that with your audience, because that, that's like in a nutshell, but so much more to it, right?
I know.
So much more to it.
So as always, we start out with 2 easy questions. The first is just tell everybody, where do you live? Where do you call home right now?
So right now I call home Florida, and that's a little story in itself. I'll just tell the story right now. That's one of the main reasons why I exited Cali'Flour. So Cali'Flour, and thank you for noticing the play on words on the name. I originally lived in Northern California, born and raised in Northern California, which has a very robust farmers market, which I thought was fun to take the kids to. But growing up in Northern California, my mom was a single mom. My dad was a drug addict, alcoholic. She left him when I was 2. We lived we didn't have a whole lot. My mom really struggled just to be a single mom. So I grew up in Northern California, and in 2018, and I had left for a while, and I met my husband and got married and had kids. And in 2018, a fire hit Northern California called the Camp Fire, which, if
Yeah.
anybody remembers it, an entire town burned down. 87 people lost their lives. It made national news. And at that time, not anymore, but at that time, it was the largest fire that had ever hit California. So I decided I had been getting offers for cauliflower, which was the first cauliflower pizza crust hit the market. And
Hmm.
cauliflower, when I launched it, it was, I was serving a person I once was, which was a very sick person.
Hmm.
And so I created that product to help me have family fun night. Growing up in a house as a only child with a single mom, I didn't know really what family was until I had my own family.
Yeah.
And for your faith-based audience, I didn't even know God, but I can remember as a little girl praying for a family. So when
Yeah.
I got married and had kids, I started incorporating traditions that I remember families that I would go spend the night with had, and I would just be probably really jealous as a little girl, but just really envious of wanting that. So when I got really sick and was diagnosed with lupus, at that time, my three kids and my husband and I used to have this Friday night family fun night, which was pizza, probably from Domino's or Round Table or any of those places, pizza, board games, or movies. And when that got disrupted, I was very, very sick for 9 months. My youngest had to go stay with my in-laws because I couldn't physically pick him up. And our whole world changed. And that
Yeah.
tradition, which was so important to me, which grounded us for the weekend, started the weekend off with fun, uh, became non-existent. So when I realized that I needed to go grain-free, excuse me, and gluten-free, that's when I started looking for the pizza crust and trying to bring back a healthier version so we could bring back family fun night. Because again, growing up as an only child, I wanted to preserve those family traditions. So in 2018, we were doing phenomenal with cauliflower, and I had been getting some offers for my company. And when the town of Paradise burned down, my mom, my now stepdad, and my aunt all lived in that town, and they found themselves at my house. They were able to evacuate, which was great.
Good,
Like I
good.
said, 87 people didn't make it out. One road in and one road out. Very scary situation. So I decided to move everybody out of California, sell part of my company, take the money off the table, move them out of California to Florida, where we have hurricanes.
I know. I was
So
just gonna say.
I live on the east coast of Florida in a little town called Melbourne,
Oh,
Florida.
yes, I know that.
And we just had Milton affect us, nothing like Tampa, obviously. But it's funny, my friends at home in Northern California say, well, what you moved from fires to hurricanes, like what's the difference? I said, there's a big difference. Fires, you have no warning. Hurricanes you can prep for. And we take it
Mhm.
very serious when a hurricane comes. So we prepped for this last one. We did lose some things, but not even worth mentioning because people have really struggled on the West Coast,
Yeah, they
East
did.
Coast on the Atlanta side. So yeah, that's where I live. Long story to answer that question. But I live here. My two of my three kids are in college. It's crazy that I'm already at that point in life. And then I have one in high school. And I moved my mom, my stepdad, my aunt. They're all here now with me. The thing is, their houses didn't actually burn, but they couldn't go back to them. So they couldn't get the insurance and they couldn't live in them.
Oh,
There was no running water and there was no electricity. So
oh,
it
wow.
was like they were in my house and I lived in Chico, California. It was just about 20 minutes
I
away
know
from
Chico.
you guys. Oh,
Yeah,
do you really?
I
Okay.
do.
That's the farmer's market.
Yeah.
College, I worked for Sierra Nevada Brewery, and Ken Grossman was my mentor, like my male mentor. And he was the
Mm.
first person to give me a 401k at the age of 18. So, yeah, I'm blessed that God has put people like Ken Grossman and others in my life. Even my mom was a great example of resilience,
Mhm.
just trying so hard. She accidentally got pregnant with me. She tried to make it work with my dad and it didn't. And I'm so grateful she had the courage to leave him in 1972 because during that time, there wasn't a whole lot
People
of
didn't do
support.
that. Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
and my grandmother was like, you made your bed, you lay in it. There was no,
Oh, yeah.
I love my grandmother. She's passed away, but that's just the way it was back then.
Yeah.
So my mom really struggled, and I can look back on it now with such great appreciation because I can remember her, I can remember hearing her cry on her bed, like, and she
Mm.
was just struggling. So it's great that I had the opportunity to be able to do something for my family. And my husband followed me to Northern California, and he's from Virginia. And I said, "Where do you want to live?" And he said, "I want to live on the water in Florida because that's where my brother lives." And so we're here with family, and it's great.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, you actually answered the second question, which is just to tell me a little bit about your journey in those early days. So that's perfect.
Well, I'd love to elaborate a little bit on that because it might help
Yeah.
your listeners if you're okay with
Awesome.
that. So
Yeah.
cauliflower is such a that story is just, it blows my mind when I think about it, and I got to live it because it was just a business that like I said, I was serving the person I once was, which was very sick. And I mean really
Mhm.
sick, like not able to really get out of bed and function for 9 months, and just very depressed
Mhm.
on Plaquenil, which you mentioned, which was the drug that everyone talked about during COVID, which
Mhm.
has terrible side effects, and steroids, which if you know anything about steroids,
Yeah,
are
that's good
awful.
either.
They'll keep you awake all night, which no sleep makes you crazy eventually.
Mhm.
And then I ended up on some antidepressants because I got so depressed, which in turn I gained a ton of weight. And so yeah, it was a vicious cycle. So my goal was just to get off those medications and get back into a normal, to be a wife and a mom and move forward. And so the cauliflower pizza crust, I took it to farmers market to allow my kids to be a part of the journey and to learn how to talk to people. And so that was a lot of fun. But then a couple local grocery stores picked it up, little mom and pop shops. And I had had some e-commerce experience, and the cauliflower pizza crust was fully cooked. It was a baked good. And I'm like, I think I could sell this online. And as long as it gets to the people within 24 hours, I can sell this. And during this time, I had a friend of mine who I don't see very often. She's a single mom, like an acquaintance friend, single mom with 4 kids, and her youngest child, Kenzie, was nonverbal autistic.
Yeah.
And the doctor put her on a low carb diet. Well, it turns out the cauliflower pizza crust, not, I wasn't trying to do this, but it turns out it's low carb. It's a perfect crust for a keto crust. And keto was just like, people were just starting to talk about it.
Yeah.
So Jesse asked me if I would send them some pizza crusts. And I said, absolutely, because single moms near
Mm.
my heart. So we were sending her pizza crusts for, and she lived in Redding, since you know Northern
Yes.
California.
Yeah,
So
I know Reading too.
so about 7 months into our farmers market journey, a little bit of sales online, Jesse calls me and says, "Hey, can you come visit me? I have a surprise for you." And I said, "Sure." So I drove up to Reading. And when Jesse opened the door, I about fell over because Jesse had, in order for Kenzie to eat low carb, Jesse had to sit down and eat every meal with her. And they were eating the pizza crust twice a day. So they were using it for other things other than pizza crust. They were using it for sandwich breads, toast, different things.
Mhm.
Jesse had lost 90 pounds.
Oh my
It is
gosh.
not healthy for 7 months. But even better than that, Kenzie came running up to me, wrapped her arms around me, and said, "Thank you." She was talking. So that was an
Um,
incredible day. And what happened with that story, fast forward to the end of 2016, I am now negative in this business, negative $269,000 to be exact. Like I had used all of our savings. I had used, we were remodeling our house, our remodel part of building a garage gone. And people often say, "Well, why would you do that?" And I'm like, I think I was addicted to getting the letters from local people, diabetics, just people thanking me, cancer patients, thanking me that
yeah.
they could eat pizza again and have a life. And because there was nothing out there in the grocery store, there was no cauliflower products. Um, there was no,
Yeah.
there was Udi's for a
Mhm.
free pizza. So anyways, I literally got on my hands and knees and prayed to God and said, "God, like there's no money left. And I'm addicted to this business. I'm addicted to helping people, but the margins are terrible. So I need you to shut this business down or make it uber successful. One of the two, because I can't do this anymore. I can't go into our retirement and I can't go into our investments. And I was on my hands and knees. I've never done that before. I've never got on my hands and knees and prayed. And my husband was in the bed snoring. Like I can see it like it was yesterday. And again, this is like end of 2016, right after Christmas. So I went to bed that night, and this is no joke. I tell this story a lot, but it's just no joke. I had a vivid dream that night, and I don't dream that often, but I had a vivid dream. And in my dream, the message was share Jesse's story. So the next day I woke up and I had one employee at the time. And and that one employee came from me from being diagnosed with lupus. I was also diagnosed with Sjogren's. I could not wear mascara. So I was getting eyelashes done. And she was my esthetician. And I'd lay on the table for hours if you've ever had your lashes done. And for those men out there that are getting bored, I'm getting to some good business tips soon. Stay with us. Anyways, I realized what a powerhouse she was. And one day I came in to get my lashes done. And she said, Amy, I've got carpal tunnel. I'm going to have to stop doing lashes. And I said, well, can you come work for me? Because she was just phenomenal. And you really get to know somebody when you're on their table for an hour and a half. So she came and started working for me. So back to after Christmas 2016, I call her, my one and only employee, and I say, hey, I had a dream and I think we're supposed to share Jesse's story on Facebook. And she said, well, I think you better ask Jesse if that's okay. And if it is, I'll put an ad on Facebook and I'll put the story on Facebook. So I called Jesse, and at the time, do you remember Jared from Subway and all
Oh yeah. Oh
that were
yeah.
happening? Yeah. So I called Jesse and I go, Jesse, I really want to share your story, but I want to share your story and Kenzie's story on Facebook. Would you be okay with that? Oh, she was elated. She was so excited. She's like, I'll be the Jesse of Cali'Flour, like Jared of Subway without the perversion. And I'm like, great. Okay. So we, in 3 days, shared that story. And Vicki, by the end of January of 2017, that story went viral. We sold more in January of 2017 than we had the entire year of 2016. By the end of 2017, I had 12 employees and we did $5.6 million in pizza sales and had EBITDA, had cash. It was such an answer to on my knees prayer. And I didn't even really know God then. It just felt right to do. So some of the things that I did that were mistakes that I think might help your listeners if they own a business, if they are going online at all, a couple things, and maybe you probably already know this, but if you don't, I suggest, looking into it right away. I got sued 3 times in 2018. By the way, 2018, we went on to do over 20 million in sales, same 12 employees, mostly friends, family. I hired hungry, humble, with strong emotional intelligence because that's what we needed. We didn't need Harvard degrees or anything like that. We needed, or even experience, because Google became our friend. We Googled how to do everything, and just being in the right places at the right time. So same 12 people. We were #1 pizza crust on Amazon for 16 months. And I'm not gloating, I'm not trying to brag, but what I'm trying to teach people is that along the way, we made a ton of mistakes because we didn't know any better. I got sued 3 times that year. #1, I got sued for my website not being handicap compliant. So anybody out there, if your website isn't handicap compliant, get it. Just Google how to do it. It's $27. It's not a big deal. But if you get really popular, you have trolls that are looking for your website not to be handicap compliant. And when you get sued, the buyout for that, so you don't have to go to court, is $12,000. So it'll save you $12,000 to just spend the 27, make sure your website's handicap compliant. Along with that, you don't even realize this, but you need to own your own fonts. Like any of your, like you already know that. We didn't know that. Like we had a graphic designer design our logo, but nobody told us we needed to own our own fonts. Another lawsuit, didn't go to court, paid the $10,000 fine. But the #1 thing that I think I learned the most from, and this is so basic and so common sense, but when it hits you and you have to make a moral choice, an ethical choice, sometimes it's easy to go the easy way out. But if you take the hard road, usually it benefits you. I lost the company $1 million in 2018. And what I did was I was really busy, running like crazy. We were doing new packaging, and I was the last person to sign off on the packaging to approve it. Well, I just signed it. I didn't even really, I looked at it, but no spelling errors. Everything's great. Sign off. Well, it turns out that it wasn't, everything wasn't great. And our customers let us know when that packaging went out, the macros were wrong. I am dyslexic and I didn't know it. Nobody tested me when I was growing up. The numbers were switched, not on purpose. They were just switched. And I didn't pick up on it, and nobody else picked up on it because I was the last person to sign off on it. So we had 265,000 packages with the wrong macros on it, which my team got together and they called me, and I was actually doing a speaking gig in Beverly Hills when they called, and they said, "Hey, we're getting slammed. Our sales are tanking." I mean, we were doing, $80,000 a day in online sales, and it dropped down to less than 10,000. And people were, when one voice goes raging online, you better address it because it spreads like wildflower. Like it just spreads crazy with negativity. People seem to be drawn to negativity more than positive. So right away, the community was just backlashing that we were liars, that we were manipulators, whatever. Total accident. Didn't know I was dyslexic, didn't even realize it happened. So the team's like, let's blame the packaging company. Nobody knows who they are. It'll be real easy. We'll just apologize, and then we'll have stickers made, and we'll pay the cost to get the stickers redone and put them on the packaging at the warehouse. And so I thought about it. I'm like, oh yeah, probably should do that. Like nobody knows who we use for packaging, and nobody knows names of people. But then in my gut, I'm like, no, that's not the right thing to do. Like you just need to admit that you made a mistake and that you were rushing and that it was an honest mistake and that you will fix it and you are really sorry and you were not trying to mislead anybody, because that's the truth. And so I put a letter out to my community and I sent it out. And even some of our competitors, and we put it on social media too, some of our competitors, like Real Good Foods was a big competitor of ours. They even said, thank you for your honesty and your transparency and class act. And after we did that, our sales went over $100,000 a day. So not addressing the problem, not addressing the angry people that were speaking, cost us sales less than 10,000, going from 80,000 to less than 10,000. Being transparent and open and admitting, and I didn't even use the excuse that I was dyslexic because I didn't know at the time. I just said I made a mistake. I didn't catch it, and I should have. And I'm the one that wrote it, and I should have caught it, and the numbers don't add up, and we're not trying to mislead you, and here's the real numbers, and we're going to make it right. And it's going to cost us a lot of money to make it right, but we're going to do it right. And people appreciated that. So I guess the message there is just when things happen, and they always do, if you can be as authentic as possible and just be honest, even though it may feel like it's going to hurt you, because I thought these people aren't going to buy from us because they're going to think they're not going to take me serious, because if I can make a mistake on a label like this, that's such a big mistake, then maybe I'll make bigger mistakes in other areas like the recipe or whatever. I was really worried about that, but it ended up benefiting us to be authentic and honest.
Wow. Such a good story. Such a
I could
good
just
lesson.
keep talking.
Mhm.
I'm sorry. I'm just going on. Your
No,
questions are getting long answers.
no worries. So whenever you created, behind you is the cookbook, whenever you sat down to create that cookbook, I'd love for you to share, what that process was. If there's anyone out there that has a business that a cookbook may be something you want to do. Um, did you sit in your kitchen, as you might imagine, and just have your kids be your testing ground?
So I had two cookbooks that I have launched. One that I self-published before Cali'Flour. Well, actually, right when I was still making the pizza crust, but I hadn't actually launched the product, and I self-published that. And then this cookbook that was launched in spring of 2019 or January of 2019, a publisher approached me and said, "We would love for you to write a cauliflower cookbook, because then what we can do is get it into all the stores that your product's in."
Yeah.
And so they came to me, and it was a very lucrative deal. It was a six-figure deal. And they had, the difference is, so I'd have to go back and I'd have to say, I'm so grateful for the publishing company. I'm so grateful for the agent that I had, but they decide everything. I had some phenomenal recipes, and yes, the kids and I did a lot of recipes together, but I also, in order to have it published by a publisher, you have to have a recipe, like this is what they do for a living, a recipe developer. And you have to have somebody also testing each recipe so that it's fully like everything
Vet
you
it
say,
out.
if it's a cup of this, a cup of that, that it makes it every single time. So it's quite a process to do it through a publisher. And then you've got to have a food. Who knew that there is a food designer, meaning each little thing for the picture on the plate is designed by a food designer. So when you go to do all your beautiful photography, which is beautiful in that cookbook, it's actually one of Martha Beck's, excuse me, Martha Stewart, not Martha Beck, Martha Stewart's, one of her photographers that did all of the,
Wow.
but you have to hire the food stylist, you have to hire the recipe developer, and then the photographer. So it's very expensive to put out a cookbook like that. So we had over 200 recipes. They decided which recipes to go in there. Some of my
Oh,
favorite recipes,
wow.
yeah, some of my favorite recipes with stories attached to them never made it in the cookbook. And the cover is not my favorite cover, and it's not the name I would have picked, but I had no control. So you don't
Mm.
have control when a publisher takes over. Typically, I don't believe you do. I've only worked with this one publisher, so I should use that loosely, but I had no control over anything. I much prefer self-publishing, where you have all the control in the world, because I just feel like there were some recipes that would have made a huge difference in people's lives,
Mm.
and very popular recipes, and they didn't make the cookbook. But the whole experience was a journey. It was, I didn't have an Instagram account, and the cookbook, the publishers were like, you have to have Instagram. Now, if you want to go with a publisher and you want an agent, it's very important. They look at social media. They look at how popular you are on social media. I'm not saying you have to be popular to get a deal, but that'll make a big difference if you
Yeah.
get a deal. Back then, it was just like, well, if you don't have it, we need you to have it. So I had to start Instagram, which I learned all about, which now I'm obsessed with. So that's okay. That's my main form of communication with my community, because I answer all my own DMs. But yeah, writing a cookbook is a challenge. And it was one I was up for, and it was a lot of fun. The problem is, when the VCs came in and bought part of Cali'Flour, they did not buy the rights to the cookbook. So, for example, our product got into Costco. Cali'Flour Foods was in Costco. The cookbook was in Costco too, but they didn't communicate with each other, because it was like the VCs didn't want to have anything to do with the cookbook, which I think was silly on their part.
Yeah,
It's
really.
such a way to promote the product. So there was no communication. So the products weren't in at the same time. So it hurt the sales, I think, of the cookbook. And if I could go back, that would have been definitely something I would have insisted that they be a part of,
Right.
because I think it hurt the publisher as well, because we should have been on stands right next to our product in Walmart, Whole Foods, Sprouts, everywhere where we were, and it wasn't the situation. So yeah, it turned out to be, it's still out there, it's still for sale. I still promote it. I still talk about it. I got to go on the Doctors and Dr. Oz and a bunch of different shows to promote it. It was a lot of fun making it, and I got to meet some amazing people. And the lady that helped me with the recipes is just phenomenal. And she
Mm.
owns a bunch of food trucks, and she's a phenomenal chef. I am not a chef, though. And so I'm just a woman that tries to create recipes that and put them out to the world that have helped me with my health.
Yeah, awesome.
So,
Well,
yeah.
you could do quick little Instagram shorts or something introducing the different recipes. Get them to go
Yeah.
that way.
We
All
have
those
to,
ones that they wouldn't use. Or
yeah,
YouTube.
true
Do
that.
YouTube.
True that. That's a good idea, actually.
Yeah, just do it
The
on
ones we
YouTube.
have
My
to use.
God. I know my daughter, she every so often gets a bug in her uh ear or whatever. That's so let's do this different recipe or things, and so we'll watch YouTube to figure out how to do it. And it's
Oh,
much, to me, it's a better way to tackle new recipes because you can see what they're doing
yes.
as opposed to
I'm such a
guessing.
visual too. I have to like see it. You know,
Hmm.
it's interesting sidebar on YouTube. I have one child left at home, and he's been buying old boats that are beat up and learning how to refurbish them. And he's
Yeah,
learned everything on YouTube.
yeah,
And then he sells them on Facebook Marketplace. He's actually making really good money. He's learned how to fiberglass and everything, all from YouTube. So, parents out there, when you get mad at your kids for always being on their phone, find out what they're looking at, because if they're studying things on YouTube, they might be having like a better education than what they're getting at school. I mean, no joke, he is doing so well, and he learns everything from YouTube.
yeah. My husband fixes cars and everything for us, saving us money, but he has YouTube always. I mean,
Yeah.
everything that. So I'm like you. And even my 9-year-old grandson this summer came in, and he was watching this guy build homes in another country out of bamboo, and
Oh my gosh.
the whole progression. And they had sped up things, obviously, but it was so intriguing. And I thought, this is fabulous that this
Yeah.
9-year-old is learning how to do things
Yes.
with handmade tools as well. It's a whole nother podcast on that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But talk about being confident. It just I'm going to build a three and a pool, 3-story home and a pool out of bamboo.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
A pool.
A
Wow. I'll
pool,
have
a
to look.
pool.
I'll have to look
Yes,
that up on YouTube.
yes.
That's interesting.
So let's talk about your newest ventures. In 2023, you went from cauliflower after you sold it for that huge profit. You started Beyond Medicine, BeMe, and Soursop Nutrition. So you have some uh, stories, I think, about that, how that began, and really the benefits of those Soursops daily gummy supplements. I'm so interested in hearing more about that.
Yeah, I think this is right up your alley because of what you do and what you do for people. So this is amazing that we get to collaborate. So when I moved to Florida, right after the venture capitalist bought a portion of Cali'Flour, and right before COVID hit, it was interesting. The venture capitalists decided to do everything that they said they wouldn't do. So they fired my team,
Oh,
they changed the recipe, and they put me on sabbatical. And then COVID hit. And then my mom got diagnosed with breast cancer.
mm,
So at the time, I was distraught, and I was like, okay. And by the way, that fortune you said I got, well, I put a huge chunk back into the business,
yeah,
thinking that I was going to be actively involved in that business with them. So when I was put on sabbatical, it was like a funeral for me. Like, I had to mourn the loss of this. I considered Cali'Flour a fourth child. I had to mourn the
mhm,
loss of losing that child. So I had no access. They changed all my passwords, no access to the company. And I've learned that this happens a lot with venture capitalists. They come in, they want to lay a new foundation down. So it's a blessing now. When I look back, I see God's protection, redirection, but at the time I didn't see it. So I just knew, when you get really depressed, the best thing you can do is throw yourself into helping others.
yeah,
So I was like, okay, I'm on a mission to help my mom. Now, remember esthetician, my right-hand person, they fired her as well. And right after they fired her, she developed breast cancer as well. So my mom and Jimmy were diagnosed at the same time. So I went into this whole mode of throwing myself into researching about cancer. And it just is such a God thing. I mean, this is during COVID. I happened to be at a location in Florida because we're a little more open than California. And when the rest of the country was closed, I was at this one location and this lady happened to sit next to me. And we started talking because, I mean, we're all desperate to talk to people because, and we have our
Yeah.
masks on. We're outside and we have our N95 masks on, which by the way, we had cases of them from the fire, from the campfire.
Oh, wow.
We had to wear N95 masks for 3 months after that fire because there was so
Yeah.
much smoke. And so we had cases of those that followed us to Florida. So we had those on, and I met this lady and she was telling me, she was asking me what I did, and I told her about cauliflower, and she said, "Wow, I've discovered this fruit called soursop." And she said, "My uncle lives in the Caribbean. It's grown in the Caribbean, and he sent it to me because my daughter has cancer." And she said, actually, we were in your neck of the woods. We were at Disney World about 6 months ago, and my daughter started getting severe back pain. And I thought she pulled a muscle on one of the scarier rides. And I took her to the ER, and they ran a bunch of tests, and it turns out she has a tumor on her spine. So she was getting lesions in her rectum as well as in the back of her throat, and she was unable to eat. And so Jamaica found soursop through her uncle and started making tea out of the leaves, and it was helping the lesions clear up, and she was actually able to eat, and she was getting stronger. And then other people at the Children's Cancer Center wanted to know, what are you using? And so she started getting these leaves in for other people, and then she started using the fruit. And I said, wow. And she goes, I really should try to figure out a way to develop that. And I said, you know what, I'm so grateful I met you, because I have two of the most important people in my life have been diagnosed with cancer recently and are struggling. One has gone Western medicine, my mom, and Jimmy went holistic. She did not do traditional radiation chemo. So I ended up ordering the fruit after that encounter, and it cost a fortune. And it wasn't just because of COVID. It just is in general, it's not, the fruit itself is not accessibly easy to get. And it's $15.99 a pound. So a piece of fruit on average is over $100 for one piece of fruit. And if you get a small piece, it could be, $30 to $40. So I ended up ordering $336 for 4 pieces of fruit. I started experimenting with it. I started giving it to my mom. I got somebody to send me leaves for free, actually. And I started making tea, and I saw it helping my mom. But then I was drinking it and eating it too. And I was like, and my inflammation after being put on sabbatical and mourning and getting depressed again, it was like a full circle moment. I was
Yeah.
getting really sick again. And I knew I probably need to go back on steroids and Plaquenil, but it was like, whatever I can do not to.
Mhm.
And so I started taking the product, and I saw my inflammation drop dramatically, and I started feeling better. And I was like, okay, I see this is helping my mom. I see that this is helping me. And let's see, I've got other family members. I've got a type 2 diabetic. Let me try them. They're on Ozempic. Let me see how they feel about it. Sure enough, it lowered their blood sugars, which is one of the things it's known to do. And the doctor removed them from Ozempic. They weren't taking it for weight loss. They were taking it because they were type 2 diabetic. My stepdad had Crohn's. I
Mhm.
started, we don't sell the capsules, but at the time I was experimenting with capsules. I was experimenting with teas, gummies, shakes, everything. He went to the doctor, and the doctor did his tests and said, what have you done different? Because your Crohn's, I'm going to take you off Crohn's medicine. Like you're healed.
Awesome.
And I didn't even know you could
Awesome.
heal from Crohn's. And he said, the only thing I'm doing different is my daughter, he calls me his daughter, which is beautiful.
Yeah.
My daughter is experimenting with this product called Soursop, and I'm her guinea pig. So, or her rat, her experiment rat. And he goes, that's the only thing I'm doing differently. And the doctor said, well, keep doing it because it's working. And so I was like, okay, I have to get this to the masses because I know how to do that. That's like my specialty now. I know how to
Mm.
do that. And you're in the supplement business. You understand, you have chews, you know, the process it takes, but you also are aware, and I know what kind of person you are, so I know you're using high quality ingredients, but you're also aware that people can just throw a supplement out there. And
Yeah.
so I was like, okay, we need the best ingredients. We're not sourcing our ingredients from China because it's coming in as I ordered some. It's coming as processed white powder, which means it's ultra processed. And I learned from cauliflower, like some of my big competitors were using cauliflower powder made in China. So I knew how processed that was. So we source all of our ingredients from Brazil, very natural. And then we found a mom and pop manufacturing plant that had the right kind of equipment. And
Nice.
so we made the world's first soursop gummies, which have been awesome. But then we also did I call it a boost, because I think you can put it in like yogurt. And I mean, we do put it in yogurt and different things to boost your food, but it's a shake or a smoothie or a food boost. And it's got
Nice.
turmeric, magnesium, goji berries, elderberries, blueberries. It's got all kinds of superfoods. So it's a power-backed, immunity boosting
Nice.
shake, and it helps with gut health. And we're coming out with a whole skincare line because it does cell regeneration. We can never promote it for cancer, but what we can do is share articles. So like, for example, WebMD, a peer-reviewed, very well-respected article just came out April 20th of 2024, talking about how soursop kills cancer cells. It attacks cancer cells without attacking healthy cells, which is not what
Nice.
happens when you go through
Nice.
radiation and chemo.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that I can never promote it for that, but I can share that article, and we do. So yeah, I decided to, and here's the thing, in my fine print with the venture capitalist with Cali'Flour, I would have been able to put this out well before COVID end for immunity. It would have been great. But when I
Mhm.
had the lawyers look at everything, they said, no, anything you create, and it doesn't mean in the frozen space, anything you create, they own. You have to completely dissolve your relationship and your contract with them. So I had a little bit of shares left. And in October of 2022, I sold those shares, or November of 2022, for pennies on the dollar. And I remember my family just so irritated with me, not my husband and kids, my extended family, going, why would you sell Cali'Flour? It's doing so well. It just bought Mikey's, another brand. Like, they're going to take that to the next level. Why would you sell that for pennies on the dollar? And I said, because I can't launch this even more powerful food that I found that's going to change more people's lives than
Yeah.
our pizza crust. I have to completely end my relationship with that. So I did, but putting this product out has made such a big difference in my life and my family's life
Mm.
and others. And it's like a full circle moment. So at the time when I went on sabbatical, if I had not been on sabbatical, none of this would have happened. I could
Mm.
not see it. And I remember saying, God, why? I worked so hard. Why are you taking this away from me? And it was like, I can just remember telling people, it feels like when your child's dating somebody you don't approve of, but the more you tell them you don't approve of them, the more they push you away. That's what I feel like. I feel like I've just been
Mm.
completely pushed away and I will never be able to get back in. And it was a blessing. So when
Yeah.
things feel hard and difficult, and you're not sure why it's happening to you, you
Mm.
never know what's coming out on the other side.
Yeah.
Probably something amazing.
I think that's why I love doing this podcast so much, because I meet people like yourself that have such great gifts to share, and and I love to be that vehicle to be able to share them with the world. But a lot of times, you have products that I know people that would benefit from it, and so I think it's always like, a God wink to me to say, you needed to hear this today to be able to help somebody that you know. So thank you so much for sharing that. It
Thank
is time now for us to share your contact information with, I'm
Sure.
sure people are going to want to connect with you. So if you're listening, you know the drill. You should have been taking notes all along, but go grab that paper and pencil. If not, if you're driving or just listening to this, can't do that, Everything will be on my YouTube channel, Vicki Netling. So please do subscribe, as well as my findyourleadershipconfidence.com. So the website is livingbeme.com, livingbeme.com. On Facebook, LinkedIn, and TikTok, Instagram, if you just search Amy's name.
Yeah, it's Amy Lacey, AMYLACEY, but Amy Lacey was already taken, so I had to put hey in front of it, which is HEY. So hey, Amy Lacey. I will answer my DMs. I still, ever since the cookbook launched and I started my own Instagram, I manage it all. And so if you DM me, I will definitely respond to you. And yeah, I'd love to send you samples of our products.
So the Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and TikTok are all Hey Amy Lacey. And
Yes.
YouTube is at Hey Amy Lacey 3542. If you just search again, Hey Amy Lacey, you will find it. And I'm going to turn it over to Amy to talk about some of the things you'll find when you go to livingbeme.com. And again, I believe she said she spends most time on Instagram, but she can share if there's a particular social media that she spends the most time. So go ahead, it's all yours.
Yeah, so I definitely am on Instagram the most and LinkedIn. I haven't revived. I need to go back in and revive my YouTube channel, just like the advice you gave me today is great advice. So I'll definitely plan on doing that starting in January. What you'll find at Living BeMe is a great support system, an educational tool to learn more about all the benefits of Soursop Nutrition. So the company is called BeMe, Beyond Medicine. And what we are proud to say that we do is we know the horrific food industry in the United States. Sidebar note, 20% of your label could be off because the FDA allows a 20% variance on all labels in the United States. So meaning that some of the big box brands, I'm sure, take advantage of this. You could have 20% more sugar or hydrogenated oil in your products and not claim them. So just be aware when you're reading recipes. But we educate people, and we feel like our products are the bridge between the food industry and Western medicine. So a way to prevent you from getting on some of the meds that you don't want to be on by taking our supplements and our boosts. And so you'll find a variety of different shakes. You'll find our gummies on there. And then you'll also find a robust affiliate program where we do more education, and it's a way to share as well as maybe earn some money if you're looking for extra money. So I love our website. We've got some beautiful recipes. We worked with a gal that I had met through Cali'Flour on the Food Network, and she's done a bunch of recipes using the shakes and just making them more than just a shake.
Awesome.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me, especially in the midst of everything that's going on for you. I appreciate the time.
It's been my pleasure. I just really thoroughly enjoyed this, and we do need to collaborate on more things. We'll get together and talk about that.
Yeah.
But as always, I remind everyone that life is a journey, and it's up to you to enjoy the ride. This is Vicki Netling, signing off.
Thank you for tuning into the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast with Vicki Netling, where we share impactful lessons that help you grow as an individual, grow your confidence, and find the positive and good within you so you powerfully and authentically become the best version of yourself. Remember to visit our website at www.findyourleadershipconfidence.com and enjoy even more great episodes like this one. Again, while you're here, subscribe to us via your favorite network. We look forward to seeing you next time on the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast.